Hi, welcome to my brand new travel channel. Now, setting up a travel vlogging channel on YouTube at this point in time seems a bit strange because we are in the middle of a world pandemic. But if I don't start now, I probably never will. And as the cliche goes, you just need to make your first video. So here I am making my first video, telling you a bit about myself and my aims for this channel. So first things first, a bit about me. I left my job as a history teacher in December 2019 without really having a solid plan of what I was going to do next. I just knew that working 9 to 5 in secondary school just wasn't for me. What I did was though, I applied for the Metropolitan Police. A bit of a crazy idea at the time, and it still kind of is on the table. I was accepted, I passed the interview stages, I passed the assessment stage. I even managed to get through the bleep test, which I was worried about. Even though I play rugby, it was still an arse to do a bleep test, which I haven't done since secondary school. And all was going well with that, and I was starting to get really excited about it. I watched a lot of police shows on TV and thought, you know what, I could do that. I could have an impact, I could be successful on the streets. And then lockdown happened, and it's kind of made me reevaluate what I want out of life. As the world was going into lockdown and more travel restrictions were put in place, I suddenly felt very trapped in my own country, and I didn't really know if I wanted to join the police anymore. Would I be happy with just my standard 22 days holiday a year and only really being able to go on, holiday trips, standard vacation, instead of being able to go out and explore the world for kind of as long as I wanted? Now, I don't have the money to just pick up and leave and go and travel, and lockdown stopping everyone doing that right now. But it made me look into a different way to be able to do that, and the way for me to be able to do that is going down the TEFL route. For those of you that don't know, TEFL is teaching English as a foreign language. And I came across lots of companies actually, but the company that stood out to me the most was EF, English First, or Education First. From what I've learned from my interview process with them, etc., they are a massive brand across China. This is not an advertisement for them. This is just my personal experience. One of the main reasons why I chose them was also because they are a sponsor of the Olympics, and I love the Olympics. I love sport. So for me, being involved with a company that also has those kind of links was a really big pull for me, as well as the fact their application process was really smooth, and they sponsored my 120-hour TEFL certificate, which can sometimes cost upwards of sort of $300-400, but I've even seen some for £500. So that was a very big deal for me. And that is one of the reasons why I chose to work with EF English. Now, obviously I can't get out to China anytime soon because of the lockdown. We're hoping early September. The original date was July, but lockdown doesn't seem to be lifting as quickly as I'd hoped. So now we're looking at September. Now, in China, I'm going to be based in a city called Shenzhen, which is a first tier city, and I'm going to make a video explaining all about the different cities in China and what it means by being first tier, second tier, third tier, in case anyone else is thinking about doing TEFL and doesn't quite know where to pick, or if you get placed in a city and you're not quite sure what it means by it being called a first tier or a second tier or a third tier city. Now, Shenzhen is a first tier city. It basically means it's a newer, more Western style city. Shenzhen is actually only like 40 years old. Imagine how Dubai just kind of popped out of the desert over quite a short time span. This is what happened to Shenzhen. It used to be farm fields, but now it's a massive city. It's got special economic sort of privileges, as it were, and it's basically where every electronic you own was made. It's also on the border with Hong Kong, which also really appealed to me because Hong Kong is another major city that I've always wanted to go to, and being just across the border, perhaps even being able to rent an apartment where your view would be Hong Kong, just one sounds really cool, but also gives me a lot more opportunity to be able to go out and explore. Obviously, Hong Kong is facing its own troubles at the moment, and I'm not going to go into political crises of that nature, but it is something that I'm also keeping an eye on. So, why Shenzhen? For me, it's on the coast. I grew up on the coast. I still live on the coast. The air is cleaner there. Obviously, China has a reputation for their air quality not being great. It's not saying Shenzhen always has fantastic air quality, but because of where it sits on the delta, something to do with delta, sometimes the air quality isn't fantastic, but for the most part, it's always a lot better than Beijing or Shanghai. Obviously, most people, when they think about China, they think primarily Beijing, Shanghai, which up until I started doing loads of research on it, that's probably what I thought as well. But the idea of living on the coast with beaches and excellent connections to neighbouring countries like Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, obviously Hong Kong, but there's also links to Macau, which looks amazing because that looks like the Vegas of China, which is crazy because I also love Vegas. So that's going to be an interesting visit/video actually, because I do intend to take you all with me. That's if you carry on watching these videos, which hopefully you will. So, where was I? Links. Shenzhen, you'd be able to fly from either Shenzhen Airport, Guangzhou Airport. I think I'm butchering these words, but once I get over there, start learning the language more, I'm sure this will improve. And you could also fly from Hong Kong. You can actually get the bullet train from Shenzhen to Hong Kong, and it takes about 19 minutes, which is crazy, considering I don't live that far away from London, but it still takes me a solid hour on the train. So I think if I ever come back to the UK, I will probably be getting very frustrated on the trains once I've experienced the Chinese bullet rail network. But that is also something I'm very excited for because I'm a little bit of a nerd and I do enjoy train systems. I know some very strange facts about the London Underground. Like Jerry Springer was born at Highgate Station during the Blitz. Just a little fact for you there. My friends, if anyone ever sees this, will laugh at me for including that because I get teased relentlessly about my random tube networks facts. But back to the point. I've always wanted to go to Southeast Asia and experience Vietnam and all of the places that backpackers typically go. But for me, it's more about the culture and the activities. And like in Vietnam, there's the world's largest cave, which you can do a trip to, and you can do a 4-day expedition, and it looks amazing. So that's one of the reasons why I chose Shenzhen. Not to say if you were on the other side of China in Beijing or Shanghai, there's not fantastic networks there, because obviously there are. But for me, being on the coast, having a more tropical temperature, because who doesn't love the sun, was a more important thing for me to sort of base my research on and decide where I wanted to live. Bearing in mind I've never been to China, so my choosing a city was done through the internet, was done through research, was done through recommendations from people that have done TEFL before. So this next thing that I want to talk about are the aims and objectives kind of for this channel, and there's my teacher talk coming through there. Now, my main aim for this channel will be a travel channel. It will be documenting all of my experiences around the world, primarily in Shenzhen in China, because that is where I will be living. But I also have aims to get out and explore all the neighbouring countries, all the neighbouring cities. There's already places in China where I really want to go. For example, Harbin, who has the most amazing ice festival. It also gets to about minus 25 degrees. So that's going to be a challenge in itself going there. However, as I said, the main aim will eventually be a travel channel, but I will also be a TEFL teacher, teaching English as a foreign language teacher in a language centre, not a school, and that's the difference. I'm not going to be working in a school. It's a language centre. It's like an after-school programme, and it's going to be for kids from about ages 3 to 12, and I've never taught that age group before. I've taught 12-year-olds before, because obviously English secondary schools, they start at age 11. But I've never taught anyone below the age of 11. So that's going to be an interesting experience. But the first few videos on this account, probably until I can get out to China, will be just updating you daily life, just some travel hints and tips that I have, because I have been traveling pretty much all of my life. I'm 25 and I've been abroad every single year of my life. Mostly on holidays, but I am an avid researcher and I research where I'm going to within pretty much every detail. I know what restaurants are in the airports that I'm going to, I know where we're going to eat in the airport, all sort of things like that that people don't necessarily always think about, but I know what shops, restaurants and everything around the hotel. I know I've read TripAdvisor reports on pretty much everything to do in the place where we are going. So they are things that I can share on this channel. But I'm also going to be sharing my TEFL journey, and I'm going to do a video just going through how you can complete a 120-hour TEFL course in about 5 days, because I managed to do mine in about 5 days and I pretty much passed every module between 90 to 100%, and that's not it's not brag or anything to do with that, but I'm just going to do a video giving some hints and tips on how you can achieve that, because no one wants to be sat behind a computer for 120 hours if you can do it quicker. The next thing that I want to do for this channel is also do videos on the process of getting a visa for China, because I've done visas for America before. I did part of my university degree in America, so I know how all of that works, but getting a visa for China is a bit of a different process. So as I'm going through the process, I'm going to share it on this channel so anyone watching can actually go back and look at it step by step as I go through it myself. So the next thing that this channel will do, it will also look at how to settle into a new country, especially one that you've never been to before. It is scary, but I'm also a very positive person and I am extremely excited. Even though some of my friends think I'm crazy, because why would you move to the country where the pandemic started? But to me, that doesn't matter. To me, it's a whole new adventure, especially because I've never been there before, and you can only read so much about culture before having to experience it. So I'm going to document my flight, the border process, immigration process if I can, and probably the health checks that you have to go through in order to enter the country in the first place, because obviously now that coronavirus is here, and they've kind of from what I've read, they've done quite well at keeping it under control in the Shenzhen area. They're not obviously going to want somebody bringing it in. So I'll also document that, which I think will be interesting as someone who's never gone through it before, to bring you all along and actually experience it with me. I'm also going to show you how you go apartment hunting in China from what I've read. Again, never been there. This is all through research online. You pretty much use WeChat, and I am hoping to actually be able to share an apartment with people. I don't fancy living on my own in a brand new city. If I have to, I will, and I will make the best of it. But hopefully I can find some like-minded people that will want to share an apartment. Also, I've seen online that a lot of the nicer apartments are bigger, hence more expensive, hence I need to share with someone in order to afford that type of apartment. So I will show you how to do all of that, especially because of the fact that it seems to be all done through WeChat, which, for those of you that don't know, it's essentially the Chinese version of WhatsApp, but it is more developed in the fact that you pay for everything. You can pay for everything on WeChat. They scan QR codes instead of having their version of contactless payment is scanning a QR code. You could even pay a busker on the street by scanning the QR code, which I'm very excited for because I love paying for things on my watch, mainly because I'm usually too lazy to pull out my card or because I've forgotten my card. And I know one day that's going to come back to bite me because one day it's going to ask for a security check and I'm not going to have my card on me, which is going to be a bit awkward. But I'm also going to explain how working in a TEFL language centre works, because it's apparently very different from working in a school, which I've only ever worked in school. So it's going to be interesting to see how more of an after school program works. But the best thing for me is the fact that the workday doesn't really start until 2:30 in the afternoon. I am not an early riser, so for me that is perfect. But finally, as I said, this channel will be focused on travel. It will be focused on everything you can do. I'll be doing like reviews of places where I go, how to book things, visa processes, because obviously certain countries you need different visas depending on your passport, etc. I know that I can obviously go to places where some of my friends in the US couldn't go, aka Cuba at the time when I was over there, which I completely forgot about and actually suggested going there for spring break, and they all looked at me as if I was dumb. So sorry guys. But it will be about how to apply for these visas when you're not in your own country, especially if you have to go to an embassy. Can you do it? How do you do it? That is all things that I am going to explore. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. I apologise for my rambling because I do ramble, which is something I am going to work on. But nevertheless, I hope it's been informative. I hope you stick around and I hope you like and subscribe. I've also got an Instagram account that I'm going to link down below. It's NicoleTravel20, where I just share lots of photos from places where I've been. I'm also going to be sharing probably more stories about like sort of bucket list things that I'm desperate to do in my lifetime, and that is going to be the next post on my Instagram, so look out for that. Again, thank you for listening. I hope you've managed to get through this video with my rambling, which again I apologise for and I am going to work on. So I hope that you stick around for the next video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.